A special edition of Plat Chat comes at you once again. It's fiery, it's electric, it's got Custa and Jonathan. I was gonna call you Reinforce, and then I thought, no, I'll use your proper name. I don't know why, because I called you Custa.
Thank you, Joshua.
But I almost called you Ronathan, which is not a good name for anybody to have, honestly. So Seoul Dynasty is the topic of conversation today. And this team, honestly, when they signed Profit and Gesture, I thought, holy hell, this team is looking to finally make the moves to become the dominant Korean team, represent Seoul, the home of esports, and then they fucking tanked. Like, what is this roster, bro?
Okay, so you got to look at the glaring issues that exist in this. Is Fitz and Illicit have both been very mediocre in the league. I don't know why those two players are still the remaining ones, especially after they give up Munchkin. I would love to see a team of Seoul Dynasty with Profit and Profit as the DPS players.
But Profit and Fleder is quite similar to Profit and Profit.
Well, that's it. If they'd kept Fleder, I would be a lot
or
happier
Glister.
about
I would actually say Illicit, you're giving him shit, and I think last year was not his year, but he could. I'm setting.
He only
Illicit
had
up,
1 year.
I'm setting up Illicit as a potential breakout player this coming season.
Okay.
You can't just say, I'm setting him up and do it. Why?
No, but I actually think that if you look at his hero pool, I actually think that he feels a bit of a... I mean, it's actually sort of similar to Profit, which doesn't help. But I think that he has the potential to become that sort of second DPS player on this roster. I know that fits more naturally, I think, suits the duo of Profit and Fitz. I mean, I don't know if you even agree with all this.
I think it totally depends what the meta is, in my opinion, because Profit is just a player that you always want on your star hero.
He'll always play whatever he wants to play, and then Fitz and Illicit, it's like, what are we playing for our second DPS? Like, whichever one's in.
Towards the later half of the season, I looked at some of Illicit's games, and I really liked what I saw. He seemed like a bit of an explosive player. Like, he could have some very, like, game fight or momentum changing fights
all I remember
plays, and I just feel like he was pretty impactful at times.
All I remember is that he seemed pretty good at Hanzo.
Yeah.
And that's... honestly, I couldn't tell you anything more than that about Illicit.
Well, that's what's interesting, right? He could break out.
Right, so... How badly...
I mean, hands down, Glister would be better.
Yeah, and Glister, I mean, they have the right of first refusal for Glister because he's on their academy team.
But the right of first refusal means they have to match whatever the team offered them.
They probably blew their budget on Gesture and Profit.
I'm sure,
but
they just like send their Glister wasn't part of the original deal with London, right?
Well, it may have been.
It might have been a part of the deal because to get Profit and Gesture, like that's a big.
It is a big.
Would have been nice to know that information.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. Yeah, thank you for not telling us anything about the inner workings of the money involved. It's so important with teams like this as well because you look and if they spent their entire budget on Profit and Gesture, it was objectively a bad move.
Oh, definitely.
Because also Gesture is, I mean, unless someone resurrects Winston, Gesture's not going to be a top player again.
He's really struggled since Winston hasn't been meta. His Reinhardt was very underwhelming, I would say.
I can't wait for someone to comment and be like, his Orisa is actually really good.
But it is. Like, his Orisa is generally very good. But
the meme is that it's Orisa.
Okay, name a bad Orisa in the league.
Oh, no, there are bad Orisas in the league.
Okay, well, name, like, someone who's not a bad player who has a bad Orisa in the league. Someone who's a good player who's, like...
A good main tank, but has a bad Orisa.
Yeah, a good main tank that has a bad Orisa.
Maybe Roar?
Roar actually was, like... He just did his job and was okay.
And that's Orisa, and that's the thing, is, like, Orisa is fine. Like, if you're a smart player and a good player, it's really hard to suck at Orisa, like...
There's so many teams in the league, I can't just pull names from my head.
This is your job. Come on. That means it's not an obvious glaring answer.
I'm talking, like, relatively speaking to the other main tanks. Yeah. Is Orisa one of your weaker main tanks? Are you known for being a good Orisa, or are you known for being a Winston one?
But that's the thing,
Among's a bad Orisa. Let's go with that one.
Sure, but like that doesn't even like the moral of the story is that Gesture is going to be fine on Orisa. Like that's not the thing, but is he that much better than Marvel? Marvel's like
honestly, Marvel might end up just getting played. And I really like Marvel.
I like Marvel as well. I think he was a really consistent and smart main tank. Like I think he's not the person who's going to change the game for you or win the game, but that's not the team you need. Like if it goes to Monkey, play Gesture as much as you want. But otherwise, I think you just play Marvel.
Well, in the Ryan. Marvel took after Fisher, and it was like nothing changed, and it was like, wow, they're actually just the same team with Marvel in it.
I would say that I would probably run Gesture if it's the Winston or the Orisa, because I do think that Gesture can occasionally have just game-winning moments on Orisa. Like sometimes he just pulls these like crazy halts out of nowhere, and his syncing with Prophet can be phenomenal in those situations, especially. You give him a hero that has tools that are literally designed to sync up with your DPS, and that to me just is a no-brainer. But when it comes to any of the other tanks, just get Michelle in there.
I'm just mostly
sorry, get Marvel in there. Sorry.
I'm just concerned about the support, honestly.
So am I.
Yeah, let's start and get to the supports then, because we've got Creative and Toby.
Toby, I'm the biggest Toby fanboy ever, but dude just hasn't really shown anything good in a long time. And like, you know, obviously he's had some rough, like a rough season last one with, you know, they were changing supports. It's really hard to keep up with that. But I think only having Toby as the main support is a risk. And we don't know what we're going to expect. Like, can Toby, you know, play the Baptistes and all the things that are required?
Do you think that you would apply the status of washed up to Toby? Is that fair? And let's be reasonable. He's a well-loved figure, but you can still be well-loved and past your prime.
He hasn't had enough time to play again for you to justify that he's washed up, because Seoul has always been a mishmash of like, why the hell are they playing this player?
True.
I'm looking forward to actually seeing Toby play. I have my, you know, reservations about it.
Yes.
But I'm actually really looking forward to seeing him get on that stage and show us like if he is washed. But they might need a mid-season signing if he just really doesn't cut up to it.
So what I'm really conflicted about is that I really rated Jexay when he came into the league last year.
I totally agree.
I disagree.
Why? Let's start there. When he first joined, you thought he was a bad pickup.
No, when he played, because when I was spending my time on the bench, I was doing a lot of review of Lucio players and what they were accomplishing. Jexay has incredibly low impact. He just doesn't do anything. He just sits in the back. His amp timings are wrong. He doesn't get in much damage, and he just overall, I think his stats would have, if you had looked at them, I think would be incredibly poor.
See, he was most notably a good Mercy player and a good shot caller. Those were like the primary.
I mean, undoubtedly in Element Mystic he was,
and that's it. Like, but that's the thing about main support is like mechanics are not always the main reason that a person is in the game. Like, you don't need to have that like high impact. But just from looking at his play, I wasn't impressed.
Okay, that's interesting.
But the point I wanted to make was that I at the time rated him, and now I trust your opinion because you actually like played Lucio at a high level. And then Toby, sort of took over and took back his role, because in many ways we went into last season and we were like, well, Toby's gonna ride the bench, he's, you know, a popular figure, he's just gonna be here because he's part of Seoul, the legacy or whatever. And then Toby, he took back his starter role from Jexay, which is very confusing to me, but it does tell me that he contributes something behind the scenes, as in like team chemistry, a good vibe to the team, etc., that Seoul Dynasty want to retain. And that is the big reason why they're still going with him and fielding him. And I think it's actually pretty good to have someone like Toby, like getting the new players adjusted to this like organization and like the team chemistry, and be like, yo, I'm Toby. I've been around since 2016. Putting my dick on the table. Welcome to fucking Seoul Dynasty.
He's the only surviving member of Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah.
He's the only... of even Season 1. They have nobody else that was involved in Season 1 Seoul Dynasty. So this is a team that has really just shaken things up. But what I dislike is that they change like 2 or 3 per season.
Sure.
And so you've ended up with a mishmash Frankensteinian roster, of which Toby's the last survivor. And I mean, we're just attributing values to him that he may not even have, because we're assuming he must have those values if he's been kept.
I'm just saying, I could very much see everyone on this roster respecting Toby.
Yeah, I think that he deserves respect.
Maybe doesn't respect Toby.
Yes, for sure. But
my thing.
But what the fuck is Creative? This? Oh, so Creative was like fourth or fifth best flex support in Korean contenders this season, behind like,
that's not very high praise.
So behind people like Alarm, Gangnam Jin, Myeonbong, and then you'd probably say Creative.
So he's okay.
Yeah. Well, the up and coming flex supports from Korean contenders tend to be wild, like really good.
So he's probably like
He's still
middle of the pack. Flex support probably coming into the league. Maybe a little bit
maybe
better.
a little bit better.
Yeah, okay.
It's hard to 100% tell, but I'd say a little better than average is what you'd expect.
I'm gonna throw a curveball. I mean, it's not more of a curveball because it's literally a ball. But last season they went 15 and 13, ended 8th. Over under.
Oh my god.
Over under 15 wins.
They have potentially the best player in the world, Profit. But then their surrounding staff is...
We have to...
It's not that bad, though. Like, if you play, for example, a 6-man roster of Marvel Michelle, Creative Toby, Profit and Fitz...
I don't think that's a bad roster.
I think I would put them 9th or 10th.
Yeah. But the two teams fighting for 9 or 10 are, in my mind, Gladiators and Seoul.
Yeah.
And so it comes down to which team would you put ahead?
I would put Gladiators above Seoul.
I would put Seoul above, I think. But even so, I think that's so disappointing that Seoul have looked like they were going to be a powerhouse team, and our expectations for them this season are middle of the pack, only just in the top 10.
I'm going to say 10th because while I rate this roster, I could totally see them just falling off the face of the earth.
Is this better than their roster last year?
I don't know, because last year they picked up like 4 rookies.
Yeah, it's way too hard to tell. I think a lot of it is gonna. I think how good this team gets is gonna come down to how whoever pairs with Profit and how good they are.
Yeah. I'm just very concerned that maybe like Toby, this is his like washed up year, and then you have like Fitz and Illicit can't do shit next to Profit, and then Creative is like, what the hell is going on? That's what I'm concerned about, and so I'll put them 10th.
I agree with that, actually. I agree with that a lot.
I think that we won't really be able to tell until we've gone into the Gladiators. You know what I mean? And properly gone through them. My gut feeling is that when we look at the roster that the Gladiators are going to field, it's not going to look as good as this, and there'll be more question marks. But I'm happy to go for 10th if you all feel that.
It's not impermanent.
Yes, it's not in Sharpie anymore, so we can put it in tentative 10th place. In my opinion, though, there is a big gap between 10th and 11th.
Yeah, really.
Like a better way, because people love power rankings, we're of course going to create power rankings, but a much fairer way of actually
tiers
is a tier system, which I suppose we could do afterwards as well. Is just lump people into tiers. What was
it? They went 15 and 13 and 8th. So I suppose 15 wins. Okay, so let's give this context as well. At 17 wins were Gladiators, who were number 5 last year. At 15 wins were Philadelphia 10th. So there were 5 teams, 5 to 10th, within 2 wins of each other. So it's very hard to say. Yeah. But I would probably say... under. I would say they get 13 or 14 wins.
I think they're going to be worse. My issue is the identity of this team is just a mess. Yeah. And so this is one of the teams I could see collapsing. Yeah. I really think so. Under the pressure of playing as the representatives of Korea, I don't know if that humbles Profit and Gesture and makes them easier to coach, or whether it just... means that they turn on other people in their team or something. Come in expecting to be praised because you paid a bunch of money to get me. And
I would have said that last year about last season's roster, how they could have been like fall under pressure. And I think I look at this team and I think this is a bit of a like fuck you team, and they're like, we're going to go to Seoul Dynasty and we're going to fuck shit up and we're going to be good, and they don't really fall under the pressure.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I would say under though. I think
we all went under.
Yeah. Okay. Well, high hopes for the team representing the mecca of esports, Seoul, in Korea. Thankfully, they only have one homestand in which to disappoint.
They only have one homestand?
I think so. I think they only have one in Korea, which... or maybe they have 2, I don't know. But they don't have a lot, which the Korean fans are going to be starved. They're going to end up coming over to China or something. Anyway, that's our thoughts on the Seoul Dynasty. Catch us next time where we will be looking at the Shanghai Dragons, who are a weird squad.
I'm a fan.
Let's just buy all the best DPS players in the world and no tanks. All right. Well, we'll see you for that.
The Dragoons!